Good morning, Natalie and Denhue. How you doing? You well?
Morning, yes.
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Thanks for your time. Your email stood out from the thousands that I get because it involved educating the next generation, which is something that's close to my heart. And you've launched a platform called Little Scholars Playground, right?
Yeah.
Which diverse children's book publishing company and early years hub. Tell me more.
Yeah, so the company started after we had our daughter. So we had our daughter in December 2019, but we call her the lockdown baby because we locked down about 3 months after she was born. And like most babies and children's, they love lift the flat board books. But when we looked for them, we literally couldn't find any. So there were books, and there are more books with children that are Black protagonists, but we couldn't find any of the flat books, which she loved. I'm a designer by profession, and Denny does so like writing in his spare time. And we literally had time on our hands with a newborn, but we were in lockdown. I was on maternity leave. So it's like we could do this ourselves. So we created our first book, Zara's Caribbean Adventure. And as you do, you kind of show friends and family first. And everyone was like, the quality, this is absolutely amazing. And then it kind of took off from there. So then we created another book and we created some learning resources, but we wanted to go back to what we stand for and our careers. So we both, as you mentioned, we both work in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, maths. And I'm a web designer, web and app designer and developer. And then you?
Yeah, so I'm an aeronautical engineer by training. So that's like to do with airplanes and flight. So I got into engineering at university and entered into the airline world where I do compliance monitoring. So I sort of like make sure passengers are safe, that sort of stuff from a sort of aeronautical perspective. So yeah, like Natalie said, we're both in STEM fields by profession, but certainly from my point of view, when I look around at all the people around me, they're all white males, and it just makes me think, well, what is it about why we don't penetrate these industries? Because as we'll come on to discuss, STEM fields are generally the most rewarding fields in terms of pay and benefits. So why, when I look around, why can't I see more people like myself? And whenever I get an opportunity to encourage young people in their selection of career choice or academia, I always say STEM. Go for STEM, because you're going to get you're going to reap the benefits in terms of reward, and also it's not just about pay, but just how much you can get satisfaction from something that is learning, and it contributes to like the human story in some way, because you can become an inventor, scientist, a mathematician, you name it. So yeah, that's where sort of the passion came from. Sorry, I've taken you away from...
No, that's fine. No, that's basically it. We wanted to encourage parents to introduce STEM to their children from at a very early age. So we thought, we want to bring that into the business.
Yeah.
So sorry, Denny, staying with you then. So
yes.
What inspired you?
So mine is quite simplistic, really. I remember as a child going to Gatwick Airport to pick up some family members from Jamaica and being completely awestruck by aeroplanes, just like their size, the scale. I was a young little boy, and I'm thinking, whoa, that is impressive, like that. And I just remember saying to my mum that I wanted some like magazines and literature on aeroplanes, because I was just fascinated by them, and that carried through. And so when I was starting to think about selecting a course to do at university, for me, it was always going to be aviation, because I just had a natural interest in it. And that's the key message I try to give to young people, is whatever you do, just make sure it comes from a place of interest. Don't think about the job or the salary or what that looks like. Just pick something that you're genuinely interested in, and that's exactly what I did. And I didn't know where it was going to take me. I just knew that I wanted to learn about how aeroplanes work, how they fly, and then everything else follows.
Natalie, talk a bit about your first book and pulling that together, where the inspiration for the story came from, and then executing it, and what the whole process felt like, and I guess completion.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, when we were looking for books for our daughter, because we think it's important for children to see themselves represented in books from a very early age. We're both Jamaican, so we have a Caribbean heritage. So the first book was Zara's Caribbean Adventure, because we were in lockdown and we couldn't travel. So it was like Caribbean, kind of the heritage side, and then the whole travel element that we couldn't do, because we had a holiday that we were supposed to go to Jamaica basically, and it got cancelled because of the pandemic. And we wanted it to be an authentic story as well, because we feel like, there are some books with Black characters, but they're created by people that are not Black and they don't feel authentic. So for example, in the book, Zara goes to carnival, which you don't really see in books. The food and different elements that are authentic. There's a Caribbean house illustrated within the book, and it looks like it could be a house from Jamaica or the Caribbean. So I illustrated that book. Denhue did all the writing for the book. And then it was just finding manufacturers, and we've just learned along the way. There's no board book manufacturers in the UK, so we went to China. And then that's how it started before then launching our STEM range.
Yeah, and it's not, sorry, go on.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, and it's just, that was a starting point. We always knew that, we used that as a starting point to get experience, but we always knew that we wanted to expand the range. So we've got a STEM leaders book, which kind of goes more towards what we really stand for. So the STEM leaders book celebrates a selection of Black inventors and innovators to kind of inspire the older category of children, that in actual fact, that whole collective human story, the things that we see in everyday life, it's not built on the story of one race. We have contributed, we do have inspiring people in STEM who've made a contribution to the human story. And so that's where we've taken it with our latest book. And the intention is to do the same going forward, add to the range, and then also the learner resources as well.
I know somewhere out of shot you've got a physical copy to hold up in front of the camera right now.
Yeah.
So that's Zara.
All right.
That's the STEM leaders book, and we've got a few more things. We've got some activity cards. So this is the STEM activity cards to inspire young people and parents to get their youngsters into STEM activities, to start stimulating their minds from an early age.
Because we want to our thing is to make STEM accessible to all, because sometimes some parents say, I want to introduce STEM to my children, but the STEM products are so expensive. And our thing is, if people look at our Instagram, we create science, technology, engineering, and maths experiments using everyday items around the home, or it's either you can find it in your home or from a supermarket, and you can do it yourself. And for example, the STEM activity cards, it has key learnings at the back as well. So if it's a science experiment that someone's done at home, they can learn exactly what that experiment is or the science behind it. We've got a STEM inventors journal as well. So parents can encourage their children to invent things, just simple things like what problem is it trying to solve, materials needed, how it works, how it makes a difference. So the child will just write the information on the left-hand side and then make a drawing on the right. And then at the back, we've got information about modelling, patenting, manufacturing, and things like that. Because as I said, we just really want to encourage parents to introduce it to the kids early on, and it doesn't have to be really expensive. You don't have to buy this robot that costs £250.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we sell most of our products online, but occasionally we go to markets where we can interact with our customers, and quite often you'll find that when you mention the word STEM, some parents are like, well, what is that? I don't actually know what that is. And it's not until you start explaining, they go, oh, okay, we get it, science, technology, engineering, and maths. And getting them to understand it's about trying to stimulate some interest early on, so that those children, as they go through, the school system, they can start to think about, where their interests may lay, knowing that those are the fields where you can potentially reap the most benefits from in the future. And it's not for everybody, but I think for us as adults, we just need to stimulate our kids with broad range of topics.
Because and there's a stat that we came across as well when we really start to research why are we not seeing many people like us in these STEM fields. And then there's a stat of the Black British professionals did some studies around, and only 6.2% of students that enroll in a STEM related subject at universities in the UK are Black. That is very, very, very low. There was a study done by the World Economic Forum last year where they did a study at the top 25 subjects based around pay. So the students that then go on to afford the highest pay after finishing uni, all 25 are STEM subjects. So it's like, why are we not? And as we said, it's not for everybody. It's not necessarily going to be the best career and everything else is not as good. But at the same time, we need to fill up these spaces as well, where our children are in these, getting seats at these tables as well, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've done too many interviews where people are quoting statistics from the West. So it shows it demonstrates how
eking us.
Well, no, it demonstrates how encompassed in what you're doing you are, and I guess you have to be, right. Attention to detail is everything if you're going to deliver these products and they're going to have a tangible effect. Have you been embraced by the literary world, and who is embraced? Is it the literary world or is it the toy market? Like, where do you sit business wise? Just explain that for me.
So I think for us, we're both. So we're publishing toys because we've got a wooden solar system puzzle as well that I illustrated, and it's handmade in the UK as well using FSC wood. So we're toys, books, and learning resources. And I'd say we found the book industry, you can agree or disagree, is quite elitist.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's interesting, given the stats that everybody knows about in terms of the paucity of representation within the literary space, especially in this country. So you found that's been difficult to navigate, yeah? Yeah,
I think we've definitely been well received, but I still do. So there's a program that the bookshop industry uses, a platform called Gardeners, and most of them, like Waterstones and large bookstores, they buy their book through Gardeners. Now, Gardeners, they will only stock the big houses like the Penguins, the Nosy Crows, and all those other large publishers. Smaller publishers, independent publishers, they will put you on their system, but they won't stock the book. So if I was Waterstones and I went to look for a book, they would see my book and they'll say, well, it's going to take up to 4 to 6 weeks to come, and I don't know what the price, I don't know how much discount I'm going to get. How many of those large bookstores are going to buy their books? So, but at the same time, it's about banging down those doors. So we've been banging down doors. I will hound companies like, look, our books are great. Our quality is just as good as anyone else. This should be in a bookstore. We actually sent some samples to W.H. Smith's last week. So even just the fact that they want to see samples of our books is that we're trying to make a difference. So we do feel like it is somewhat elitist. There are more Black books with Black protagonists, but they're white authors and illustrators. They're not telling an authentic story. They're not living our story. So there needs to be more authors and illustrators that are put onto the same pedestal as others that are Black.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, then, if you could plot a way forward that, would suit your needs, what would that look like?
In terms of publishing?
In terms of you growing and scaling up and actually making the impact that you hope that these products invariably do.
So we're doing more wholesale, aren't we? So for us, it's just getting our products into stores. So we do well. We sell a lot online for our website. We do go to some markets, but in terms of time, it's not really realistic, for us we want to be in stores. So I feel like the industry, if it could be easier for self-published authors and illustrators for their books to go into stores and bookshops and wherever else. So I think our next goal is to get our products into stores so they can get into the hands of not just Black children, but children of all races and schools as well. So we recently did a program where we donated we're in a position, and we've done quite well, that we were able to print 100 more of the STEM Leaders book, because there is another stat that only there are only 34% of primary schools have a library budget. So that's why a lot of primary schools don't actually have a wide range of books. And if they do, it's the penguins, or they're not diverse and they're not inclusive. So we've taken it upon ourselves. We donated 100 books. We put up a post. We got people to recommend primary schools. But our thing was, we didn't want to just donate to state schools. We've donated to independent private schools as well, because we believe all children should know about the great things Black inventors and Black people have done. So we've done that as well. We're giving back. For example, we recently donated a book to Africa through Books to Africa, which was collected this week. We've done like initiatives and programs across the Caribbean. So there's a youth program called JA Worlds. So we delivered their marketing and STEM part of a program. Was it about a month or so ago?
Yeah, a month, 6 weeks ago, roughly.
Yeah. Sent kits and nevis, because we feel like it's important for young children, particularly young Black children, to develop and help build their own communities as well, so they don't rely on others to, for example, kind of give handouts and stuff. So yeah, that's our goal, is giving back, getting our products into stores.
Yeah, and to answer your question directly, it's about scaling the business, really. So we need promotion. Like any good business with good products, it really does need marketing and promotion. So this is what our focus is, and it's one of the reasons why we're talking to you. It's just to get that message out there that companies like ours exists, with Black founders who really do care about our community. And really, ultimately, the goal is to stimulate our children's minds with literature which represents themselves, but gets them to think about broad subjects as opposed to that sort of narrow historical view. Yeah.
Where can people find you guys?
So we are predominantly online. So www.littlescholarsplayground.com is our website. All of our products are on our website, but also on the socials. We are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at littlescholars.playground.
Yeah, but we're mostly active in terms of social media, probably in Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to your growth. I think you're onto something. I've spoken to a couple of different entities within a similar space who have similar ambitions. So wishing you all the best. I think I've already tried to connect. Well, we've had a conversation, Natalie, about some of those other people. And I think there's scope for you guys maybe coming together and pooling resources to, cross promote and keep promoting each other. Because like I said, there are similar interests there. Is there anything else? I think we've covered everything. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we part ways?
I can't really think of anything.
No, I think we did a good job of covering ground there.
Yeah.
No, not that I can think of. If we think of anything, we can always message you. But I think we've covered.
It'll be good to follow up with you. If not later in the year, then definitely next year and see what you're doing for the Black History Month 2023. Yeah. Like I say, I envisage growth. I think there's a huge need for this, and once people cotton on to the fact it's there, provided the product is as good as you say it is, I can't see what's going to hold you back. Before we go, if you could partner with any big publisher, who would it be? And I always tell people to speak it.
It'd probably be Penguin, because their reach is global, isn't it?
They're massive.
Massive. Very, very.
So Penguin, I know you watch every single video I put out, especially on books and authors and people in that space. These two aspiring adults would love to talk to you about some business. So let's see what happens. All right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Excellent.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. You take care now.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.